Hi, welcome back to James Chats Wrestling. I'm back today and with a very special guest, none other than WrestleManiac UK, Mex. How are you today, Mex?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. It's just good to find other UK wrestling fans. I'm telling you, it's put a smile on my face every single time. So yeah, thanks for having me.
It's brilliant. It's good to have you here. We're obviously going to discuss Fastlane 2015, going back many, many years. But before we go into it, please tell everyone about your great channel and your history in wrestling.
So I started my channel coming up to about a year now, maybe about 9 months into my channel. And again, it's just to really talk about this thing that we love called wrestling and connect with other fans, predominantly UK fans, but I've met a few good people from overseas as well. And yeah, I'm on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter. I'll talk about wrestling anyway. Give me a platform to. So yeah, that's what I've been up to, especially the past year.
I highly recommend everybody check out Mac's channel. It will be in the comments below. Just please, obviously, check it out. It's a really good watch. Some of the content he does, particularly the AEW show and stuff, it's really, really interesting. It's great to hear that opinion. And quite often you go live after the pay-per-views as well, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Being here in the UK, it's probably about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So
yeah,
some people would say you're mad, but I think credit to you, man. That's really, really good.
We're as wrestling fans, we're committed. Even sometimes when it's a load of rubbish, we're committed. That's one thing I'll give us. So yeah.
Definitely. So let's get into this kind of Fastlane show. So obviously it's 22nd of February, 2015, WWE Fastlane on the Fastlane to WrestleMania. Just before we kind of go into it, what was your kind of feeling as a fan around this time in 2015?
So this was me really getting back into wrestling. I told you before we kind of went live, I stopped watching for a while because I was at uni. I never had a means to watch it. I came back. I was watching it here and there, but I wasn't really in it. The Shield had broken up, and I really got into the Shield. I was thinking, what are we gonna do with these guys now? And WrestleMania was coming up, and just like as we live today in current day, WrestleMania season between January and whenever it falls, March or April, is when everyone's just watching and trying to predict what's going to happen. So I was interested, but yeah, I was just kind of watching because I knew it was the road to WrestleMania.
Definitely. Yeah, it's interesting sort of time, obviously, particularly coming off a Royal Rumble where Roman Reigns had won. It was interesting. We've got the era of the Authority as well, which is was a very interesting period within WWE. We're going to get into the show then. So the show obviously opens up. There was no pre-show match. Instead, it was just Miz TV with Paul Heyman. The crowd seemed to be really over for Mizdow. And this was his only appearance on the show. Miz told Mizdow to sit in the corner like he's a dog. Heyman established Lesnar was not going to be there. And it just kind of was just basically promoting the fact that Lesnar wasn't there. What were your thoughts of this pre-show without a pre-show match? Did you kind of enjoy it?
It was weird. The one thing I'd always have time for is Paul Heyman, great talker, one of the best in the business. And obviously he was saying that, no matter who won on the night on the main card, which the main event, Roman and Daniel Bryan, which we'll get to, he didn't care who was going to win because they're not going to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And that's what he was saying. So yeah, he delivered it as only Paul Heyman could. And yeah.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. It was interesting they didn't have a pre-show match. Paul Heyman, always good on the mic. It's great to see his work with Lesnar. Almost seems like so long ago since his work with Roman Reigns recently. But yeah, really fun. It's great that they're getting the hype over there that Brock Lesnar isn't there. Although he's the world champion, they're still mentioning his name, which is a clever thing to do. I thought you want to mention that the world champion's not there. You want to make that clear because of it. There's implications of whoever wins the main event, which I thought was clever. Have you got anything else you want to add about the kickoff before we go into the actual show?
No, just I found it weird that there was no match on the kickoff show and just a Miz TV segment, but fair enough. And one thing before we got into the main card, I don't know how you found it, especially watching this back in hindsight. This crowd throughout the show was dead. Did you notice that?
Yeah, apart from the last 2 matches, they were a very unforgiving Memphis crowd. That's for sure. I'd agree with you there. I think they didn't give a lot, which I don't know what the reason for that was. It was just really, really strange, but.
It was really strange, but yeah.
Certain stuff they were really sort of popping, but then it wasn't consistent. They wouldn't be consistent the whole way. It was almost like they sat through 6 or 7 hours of WrestleMania or something. It kind of felt like that to me a bit. But no, that's a good observation, definitely, man. So going into this first match, it was a 6-man match. It was Dolph Ziggler, Eric Rowan, and Ryback facing Seth Rollins, Big Show, and Kane. kind of before this match started, I was in shock. I could not believe that Dolph Ziggler's a babyface here. You've got Ryback as a sort of, I always thought he was kind of a tweener. Eric Rowan here as a babyface. And then obviously, I was just shocked. I could not believe how much time and how different it was with Dolph Ziggler as a babyface. What were your thoughts before we get into the match?
Yeah, so I think that's when I really started to notice the crowd, to be fair, because Dolph Ziggler was the only one really getting reception from the crowd in this match. Yeah, it was and weird to see Ryback. Ryback is someone, like I said, because of the period I stopped watching and kind of got back into it, I never really saw much of him before he was more or less out the door. So I never really knew how much the crowd took to him in general. But I loved this Seth Rollins. I absolutely loved, with the briefcase and having J&J security behind him and all of that sort of stuff. I absolutely loved it.
I thought J&J Security was a very fun sort of turn. Obviously, this is clearly in the Authority and stuff. And to have Seth here, Seth obviously had got the Money in the Bank briefcase at this time. He'd been unfortunate at the Royal Rumble not to win the match in the triple threat against Lesnar and Cena.
Brilliant
So
match.
it's kind of great that they're continuing the arrogance of him being the Authority. But we'll get into the match now. So there were some very good spots in this match. It was very sort of hard hitting. There was a lot of brawling. What it ended up doing was kind of just generally it was close of who's going to win. And I just thought it was a really, really good opening match. In the end, Kane hit the chokeslam on Ziggler to get the pinfall. Was you happy with this result, and did you enjoy the match?
I think the finish was kind of underwhelming, just because it's Kane in this day and age. It's like Kane shouldn't be winning a match. He shouldn't be he shouldn't be winning. Maybe that should have been Rollins. But yeah, I think this was just. It was what it was. It was these guys trying to fight off the Authority and stuff like that, and they didn't get the best of them.
I just think it's a really weird combination when you're putting people such as Dolph Ziggler in there with Big Show and Kane. It's always going to be kind of weird to see. But no, as I said, I agree with you. I think with the fact that Rollins didn't get the win, I think that's a strange decision. But as I said, I think this was just one to basically get the Authority over. I think this sort of done it. Obviously, after the match, we had Rollins hitting a curb stomp on Ryback and also Ryan. Then we get Randy Orton come out. Randy Orton comes out. He got an absolute huge reaction from the crowd. He then hits the RKO and J&J. J&J were Joey Mercury and Jamie Noble, for anybody that doesn't know who they were. A bit like an Adam Pearce type gimmick. That's the gimmick they've got here. Orton obviously then was about to hit a DDT. Big Show pulled out Rollins, and Rollins ran away as a coward. Did you enjoy this part?
Yeah, Rollins was the cowardly heel at this point. Literally trying to just cash in that title, using J&J and Kane and Big Show where he could. Even obviously, for those that remember, Randy Orton was in the Authority and was more or less pushed out of it because of their allegiance to Rollins over Randy Orton. So that's why, Randy Orton came out to that massive ovation. And this helped set up their WrestleMania match. Am I right?
Yeah, correct. So they had a match at WrestleMania. We did a good job of building that feud. It'd been teased for a while, and this made sense. What I thought was quite good was just the whole way that everybody got kind of time on camera, and the fact that Orton came out. I don't know if it's just me, Max, but I was shocked that he's a babyface. I forgot how long ago he's been a babyface. It seems to be so long ago.
He was, and when he's a babyface, everyone loves. I think everyone loves Randy Orton at this stage anyway. But as a babyface, he does put on good stuff. I think we all know he does his best work as a heel.
Definitely. We then obviously had a Goldust and Stardust video package. This is when Dusty met Goldust. And they basically showed what happened in the meeting. It was just there really to kind of hype this match is coming between Goldust and Stardust. What were your thoughts of the video package?
Very interesting. You know what? This match has obviously caused a lot of stir, especially with these two in WWE. The fact that they never got this match to be a WrestleMania match. However, I think after this package and everything else that we saw on the night from these two, I wasn't sold that it should have ever been a WrestleMania match. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, interesting opinion. I think the thing with it as well, it's just a really weird sort of time looking back at Cody Rhodes as Stardust. Cody Rhodes, obviously, here in this match ends up jobbing to Goldust, which it's just when you look at it now in 2021, you would not believe that Cody Rhodes was in WWE and they misused him. I think it's one of them things where this was obviously a family feel type stable angle, if that makes sense. The match was okay in parts. Obviously, Goldust getting the windfall, and then obviously after the match, he goes kind of backstage and he then tries to plead kind of with Dusty. and it just kind of ends up with sort of Stardust saying to Dusty that he killed Cody. It gets a bit weird here. What were your thoughts of the match and kind of the aftermath?
Yeah, so once I watched the match, I was like, thank God this wasn't a WrestleMania match. Again, this was notably obvious when they came out for the match. The crowd didn't react for either of them. And I was just thinking, not even for Goldust, he's the face here. Like, I didn't think anybody cared about this. God bless Cody Rhodes, trying to do whatever he could with this Stardust gimmick. But I think especially by then, it had run its course. No one was really invested. They put Dusty in there maybe to get a pop and to maybe get people kind of focused on this. I don't think it worked. And then obviously Cody backstage afterwards, he beat down Goldust again. So
I think the thing with it is this brother versus brother angle generally doesn't really work often. Obviously, Bret Hart and Owen Hart's probably the exception, maybe to the rule. Looking at it, I think the problem with it, what also didn't help this match was the finish was messed up. The finish, Stardust goes for the crossroads, Goldust then reverses it to the crucifix pin. The ref seemed to forget what the finish was of the match. He held up a 2 count, even though Stardust didn't kick out, and then he hit the 3. So it was obviously a botched 3 count, and I just think that took away from the match a bit. I think that kind of made it a bit sort of amateur, which is a shame, really, for these two great wrestlers.
He counted 2, went for the 3, didn't hit the mat, and then called for the bell.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a bit of a mess, like you said.
It's almost like they got like a sort of an earpiece message saying, "Oh, we're out of time here. We need to go home. We need to go home quickly just to be able to sort of move on to something else." But no, it's definitely kind of an underwhelming match. Luckily, we don't get this match again at WrestleMania, which I think this is sort of probably for the best based on what you said.
Yeah, but like you said, based on then what we got from these guys in AEW as Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes, the Natural Nightmare, I think that was early AEW, so maybe 2019. That match was fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Some people say that that's the best match of that year in AEW. Like, it was absolutely fantastic. The emotion, the story told, everything, and that was them showing that it should have been a WrestleMania match, but different times, different characters as well. They done what they could with Stardust and Goldust, but yeah, this match wasn't it.
Yep, we're now going to go to the tag team title match. So this is the Usos with Naomi facing Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. And this was a really, really kind of interesting match. We obviously had Usos going in as champions. They're there with Naomi. You've got Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. It's really weird to see Cesaro in this spot here. You've got Natalya as well there. And for me, this was a really good technical match. I think it offered sort of quite a lot. The fact we got new tag team champions on the way to WrestleMania, I think that was a bonus. And it's just really weird to see Jey Uso back in this old gimmick for me. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, this was a massive throwback. Even when the music hit, I was thinking, before the camera panned over to the entranceway, I was thinking, who's that? And then I saw these guys come out and they're doing the Haku and everything. And then Naomi comes out. And then for me, you said this, it was weird to see Cesaro in this position, but unfortunately, I feel like as WWE fans, we've been conditioned to see Cesaro in tag teams. But one thing, like you said, this was a fantastic match. Tyson Kidd is a phenomenal wrestler, man. And I think obviously he got injured, hence why he doesn't wrestle today. But that is a shame because he is so good.
It is a real shame. I think the thing is that he was vitally involved in the finish. Obviously, he could hit a spinning neck breaker on Jimmy Uso and then got the pinfall. For me, I think it was great. It just shows how good that, as you said, Tyson Kidd was as a worker. Cesaro, obviously a fantastic worker. The Usos were very, very good. And this is what the tag team division should be, in my opinion. I really think that this could be something that WWE should do modern day. They should have a tag team match of this caliber on every pay-per-view because I think it's just amazing when you look at these people and the teams together. I really forgot about the Kidd and Cesaro team, but it's a shame they're not around now. I think it's a loss to WWE, that's for sure.
Yeah. Obviously we had Naomi and Natalya ringside, and I was laughing when they won this match and won the titles. I immediately saw Natalya run over to him and say, "Kiss me," and he was off celebrating with Cesaro. She kept trying to pull his face over to have a little kiss. Even at one point when they were having a kiss, Cesaro pulled his head back and like, let's celebrate as men. It was all a bit funny. I'm not really sure how much Natalya and Naomi added to this particular feud. I know that's their little argument at the restaurant is why they got here. But just a really good wrestling match, like you said. And WWE don't seem to value tag teams as much these days.
Obviously, Tyson Kidd Cesaro, obviously winning the belt. They go on to WrestleMania where they win a fatal four-way tag team match and they retain the belt. They start a very decent run with the tag team belt, which is the right move. And no, I think the right team won it. Have you got anything else you want to add before we go to the next match?
No, I think, like you said, the right team won. Very shocked that that change did happen before WrestleMania. Was there a WrestleMania match on the main card, or was that on the pre-show?
It was on the pre-show. It's the first
Yeah,
match
I
on the
thought so.
pre-show.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, it's just a pity Tyson Kidd's career ended
It is a real
as soon as
shame.
it did.
An interesting note, though, on this WrestleMania pre-show involving this tag team, the other teams were the New Day, Big E and Kofi Kingston, amazingly, still on the roster now. The Usos are there again. And you've also got a random team called Los Matadors, which were Diego and Fernando. They were one of the Colan boys, I believe.
The Colan brothers, yeah.
I don't remember them being there, which is kind of weird. But the fact we've got wrestlers sort of going back in 2015 on the undershow and look at where they are now in WWE, particularly Big E, it's an amazing turnaround. And Jey Uso as well.
Yeah, literally.
100%. So the next segment was Sting and Triple H. So Triple H obviously comes out of his confrontation with Sting. He looked like he was ready for a fight. And this just was sort of really built up to sort of hype up their match at WrestleMania. They end up Triple H ends up kind of promo on Sting. It just kind of ends up with just kind of them sort of looking like they're going to sort of have a punch up. Sting then points to the WrestleMania sign. He then puts a battle of the throat of Hunter. He then points to the sign. Hunter said the match is on. And then when Sting walked away, Hunter charged in. Sting then attacked him with a bat and he hits the Scorpion Death Drop. What was your reaction to this segment?
I'm a massive Triple H fan. I pop anytime I see Triple H do anything. So I think he carried this segment. His promo was really good. He sold very well for Sting, even before the attacks actually happened, when Sting was kind of sticking him up with the bat. He sold and looked scared, and obviously accepted the WrestleMania challenge once Sting laid it out, and then sold for Sting afterwards when Sting beat him up. We had to get to their WrestleMania match. I thought it was an efficient way of doing it. It was kind of weird to see this segment on a pay-per-view. This is something you usually see on Raw for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But they put it on a pay-per-view for 20 minutes instead. So that was weird. But other than that, I thought the segment was pretty good.
Definitely. They'd obviously been building it since November at the Survivor Series where Sting debuted. Obviously, when he attacked Triple H and in that elimination match. I think when you look at it as well, I think they really did a job here of trying to build WWE versus WCW. I think obviously Sting was kind of there, not able to say a word as such. He pointed at the sign, which was impactful enough, but they really were pushing the fact that Triple H was the one that kind of took WCW out of business, which I thought was kind of weird. But no, I think it's one of them things for the iconic. And when you go and look at that match they have at WrestleMania, this was a really good build for me. I think they did really well here. I think it really works. Have you got anything else you want to add?
No, yeah, you're right. I think it was enough. Everything, like you said, had been built up from Survivor Series until this moment. Triple H, like I said, he done a great job. Sting looks very good. I guess this is where Sting could kind of stood tall against Triple H within the entire feud. And then, we had the WrestleMania match announcement later on the night on the card. Like I say, the only weird thing about this is that this wasn't on like Raw. It was on a pay-per-view.
But, no, it's definitely weird. I think the thing with it is they need to give them time. Clearly, they were protecting Sting from being the ring. The impression I got from it is they really would delay that big debut to WrestleMania, which I kind of get. I do get that because it's the payoff. But no, it's definitely fun. I think it left me kind of excited. I was excited to see the match going on to WrestleMania. Definitely, I remember being back then and being really excited about it. Have you got anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's all. That's it.
No problem. So we got match 4. This is the Divas title match: Nikki Bella versus Paige. And for me, I think this match, it wasn't really there. It didn't really work for me. Looking at it, I think a couple of parts of the match that I thought were okay. It was just literally just probably JBL's commentary. JBL on commentary saved the match for me. I know it sounds crazy. Nikki hit a good Alabama slam. That was quite cool. In the end, it ends up with Nikki Bella getting the pinfall and she sort of flukes a win. Obviously, the backstory to this was that they kidnapped or they took Paige's clothes. So she had to dress up as a rosebud on Raw and stuff like that. And for me, I thought it was an okay match. The crowd really didn't help it. There was no reaction there. It was almost like a library, which probably didn't help as well. What were your thoughts of the match?
So yeah, my sentiments are more or less the same as yours in terms of the match. I thought this was in terms of the story, because obviously watching these back in in hindsight, you're getting to see the backstory before they got to the match. And I thought this was very weird. Obviously, you mentioned the clothes thing, and she had to dress up as a rosebud for one of the matches on Raw. There was a segment where we saw Alicia Fox holding down Paige, and the Bellas had said that, she's too pale, so she needs a tan, and they proceeded to spray her black. Like, that was what, 5-6 years ago? And I think, didn't anyone say anything about that, that time? Like, you could never even try that today. That could never even be a thing. But it doesn't feel like it should have been a thing 5 years ago either. So very weird build. But you know what, I have to say that, unlike a lot, I'm a fan of the Bellas. I think they really did help push this division to another level at the time. Obviously, Paige is fantastic and hometown girl in terms of, England's support for us. But like you said, the match never really came to life at any point. And Nikki's reign of terror as the women's champion continued.
Yeah, definitely. I think looking at it, there was a lot of mistimed spots, which is unfortunate because both the wrestlers are quite solid workers, but they did the best they could. Clearly, this is going to lead to a tag team match at WrestleMania where you can get the Bella Twins facing Paige and AJ Lee. This is obviously where Paige is going to get a revenge for the bullying and that lot. But I think the right person won. I think definitely creates interest in WrestleMania. It's just I just thought it didn't really work. It wasn't one of the strongest shown in the women division. I was surprised because usually Paige is really, really good worker.
Yeah. I think it just, for whatever reason, it just didn't really mesh and come together on a night. Maybe the crowd as well, it didn't help. And yeah, by this point, they were focused on getting Nikki Bella to the point of being the longest reigning Divas champion. So yeah, the reign continues.
Definitely. We've got this Intercontinental title match then. So it's Bad News Barrett, aka Wade Barrett, facing Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, for everybody now. I'm sure everybody knows who that is. So this was obviously for the Intercontinental title match. An interesting note, before this match, during the day, the bookies or the bet makers were saying that Ambrose was 17-1 favourite and all the money was on him to win, which was quite kind of interesting. What were your thoughts of this match?
I thought it was decent. It was good to see Ambrose get a big pop. I think that was another big pop on the night. He was a fan favorite in WWE. I really don't know how they got him wrong. But yeah, it was a pretty decent match. Nice to see Wade Barrett in the ring again. Obviously, he seems to have somewhat hung up his boots at the moment anyway. So it was good to kind of see him in action in his heyday. The ball hammer, I still love that finisher. Crazy looking finisher. I thought this match was all right. It was pretty good.
Obviously, the backstory to this match was Ambrose was trying to get his poster kind of up in the Titan Towers for some reason. That was a big sort of song and dance. He was trying to get his poster up. And obviously for the Intercontinental title, for me, it was okay. They did the best they could. I think the sort of cheap finish didn't really kind of help it. I think it sort of undersold it. I would like to see them have more time, but it was okay. Kind of, it didn't really do anything. I think whenever you've got a disqualification finish, I think it really takes away from the match really, which I think in this spot, when we look at it, I'm really surprised kind of that Dean Ambrose didn't get the win here. Although it was DQ finish, I get that. But Bad News Barrett's holding on to the belt. What was your thoughts of the result?
Yeah, like you said, it takes away a bit from it, but I guess Dean Ambrose left me with a smile on my face. He walked away with a title, didn't he?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to kind of see where these people end up. So obviously, this is going to end up with both these two wrestlers at WrestleMania in a ladder match with Daniel Bryan and some other people.
Fantastic match.
Yeah, definitely, it's a fantastic match. But isn't it crazy to see Dean Ambrose in this middle of the card row when you look at him in 2021, top of AEW, challenging Kenny Omega this coming Sunday?
Yeah, it is. It was weird, but you know what? He's always been kind of better, like in this kind of position, in my opinion. Like, even with the following year or so, I think it was 2016, 2017, he actually went on to become WWE champion, but he's just always better chasing it. And even now, for those that watch AEW, that he's lost the title to Kenny Omega and he's kind of trying to get back at him. This is just his role, being the guy that chases down the champion. I don't ever think he does his best work as champion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he's always better chasing, which is true. But it's just interesting to see him in this spot. And you forget how good of a worker Bad News Barrett is. He was so good back then. I think for a British wrestler, he really kind of impressed me. I really got William Regal vibes from him. I really thought that he really carried himself well in this match, despite the finish.
They're very funny with who they give the WWE Championship to. If they want to give you the WWE Championship, but they don't think you should hold it for whatever reason, they give you the World Heavyweight Championship. And I think he's definitely someone that should have at least held the World Heavyweight Championship in WWE.
Definitely. So obviously going into this now, so this was sort of another sort. We had an angle here. So they teased the Undertaker coming out. There was the music of Undertaker. We really think he's going to get there. They get the Druids and the coffin, and then they open the coffin. None of them. Bray Wyatt is there, and it ends up with kind of Bray Wyatt formally challenging the Undertaker for a WrestleMania match. What were your kind of thoughts of this?
Bray Wyatt was on flames these times, man. He was so good. I think if I'm correct, he had kind of disbanded the Wyatt family somewhat.
Yeah,
And
he's rolling solo, definitely.
yeah. So yeah, he was just so good. And was it no, it wasn't WrestleMania 30 he faced. That was Brock Lesnar. Yeah, this is 31. You kind of wish that he beat Undertaker, it's probably one of the missteps they made with Undertaker in the closing matches of his career. This should have definitely been someone to kind of absolve the powers of darkness from the Undertaker and be in a better position than he was. Promo and everything, so good. He done the promo within the coffin,
Yeah.
He was so good.
I think there's some great lines in the promo, like "I am Bray Wyatt, the new face of fear." WrestleMania, I claim to solve the Undertaker. Evil laugh. I think it's just necessary. I think it does a really good job. Clearly, this match had been rumored for 3 or 4 months beforehand, so it was great to see them sort of give that tease that it's going to happen. And yeah, I agree with you. The point you made earlier, I think definitely Wyatt probably should have gone over the Undertaker here. And I just think it's one of them things where it's quite funny now. We're looking at 2021, and Bray obviously not been on WWE since December, coming back very soon probably. And he's still relevant, I think, now. He's still going to have probably a major part at WrestleMania this year, I think.
Yeah, he's. It's looking like we're getting a Firefly Funhouse match between him and Randy Orton. It's going to be interesting to see the incarnation he comes back in, because obviously his previous one was burnt alive. So it's going to be interesting to see how they package him and everything. He's going to look any different. But yeah, Bray Wyatt is he's someone that I would say is pretty much slept on in this roster.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing with it, as I said, he's obviously had the Wyatt family and stuff like that, and it's just seeing him branch out as a singles wrestler is great. But I agree with you. I think the way that they chose him to lose, obviously at WrestleMania, I think it probably was the wrong move. But no, definitely. Have you got anything else you want to add?
No, this was really good. I at first, you know what, watching back the pay-per-view and trying to remember, there was a part of me at first that thought, is this the Undertaker? Like, I've never seen this kind of entrance.
Yeah, I thought
and
that.
Then when the coffin popped open and then you saw Bray Wyatt, I thought, okay, here we go. But yeah, it was really good stuff.
Definitely. We then obviously had this United States title match. It was John Cena facing Rusev. This obviously originated from the Royal Rumble when they basically squared up against each other. And Rusev was the last man eliminated from the Royal Rumble. So he was kind of on a push. And then obviously this match for me, I thought this was a really, really solid match. I think it kind of did what it needed to do. There was a lot of near falls. And crucially, Rusev pulls off the win. He gets a windfall here. And he ends up sort of by getting it by sort of a tap out. But obviously Cena passes out. He doesn't actually tap out. So winning the United States winner and hold on to the United States titles, Rusev. What were your thoughts this match?
So, quick question: what had happened to John Cena? Because they put him in the accolade and he passed out, and then but I think something happened to him. Was there like some cheating here before?
So what happened is Rusev was about to sort of go to the ropes. The ref was about to break it. They tease like a finish, and then both guys kind of avoid it, and it ends up with Cena doing the AA. Rusev kicks out, and then Cena basically is going to do something off the top spot. Rusev catches his leg coming down. He then turns it into an accolade. Cena obviously then sort of battles back, and he just gets the accolade right at kind of the end when Rusev low blows Cena. So it's a low blow, and then it's the accolade basically.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Something happened before that accolade was locked in. I remember. You know what? This match was fantastic. I always talk about John Cena, and by the time he comes out and his music hits and John Cena sucks and all of that stuff, the crowd don't want anything to do with John Cena. Oh, he's going to just win the match. He's going to get pushed. And by the time the match is finishing, everyone is behind John Cena because of his level of performance. Like, he is so good. And honestly, as mad as it's going to sound, I think he's underrated somewhat, especially in this big match situation. Like, he really knows how to perform. Rusev was on the run of his life at this time, although it being very early into his WWE career. He was on the run of his life, completely undefeated, US champion. And yeah, he won the match with some nefarious means. just as a Rusev fan, it's just disappointing to see that, they never really capitalized off this. They never done anything with him afterwards. He's in AEW now as Miro, floundering.
Yeah, he's,
No,
he's in a bad gimmick, unfortunately. I think with people on the opening, I'd say mid card. I wouldn't say he's come in sort of, unlike John Moxley's coming at the main event. Miro's coming sort of being a wedding organizer, basing stuff like that. It's just we don't want to go. That's the thing. But regarding sort of this match and stuff, I thought it was a really really good match. I think they were clever. Obviously, they're going to have a rematch at WrestleMania where Cena's going to beat Rusev. But I think the only thing I'd like to see more, they should have had Cena tap here really. But it was a fun match. What was interesting enough is when Cena left, most of the crowd were actually booing him, so we actually got some sort of reaction, which was quite fun to see Cena get booed. I thought that was kind of weird for that time.
yeah. So I think by this time people were bored of Cena. I think a lot of people were annoyed when he won at WrestleMania as well, especially after Rusev came out in the tank. Yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, this was a good match. I think this was one of the better matches on this card.
Definitely, I think this was a fun sort of United States versus Russia feud. That's kind of what I took from it. Very much said John Cena playing the Hulk Hogan role here against kind of the sort of almost like the Iron Sheik, that type of role. That's what I kind of got from this match. But the fact we're getting to get a rematch at WrestleMania, I thought both wrestlers kind of looked strong. I think it was the right thing here with Rusev not losing. Yeah, definitely. Have you got anything else you want to add before we get to this main event?
Not really. I think Lana as well, obviously, was ringside. She was Rusev's manager these times. I think in the role that suits her best. And that's not against her in-ring ability or anything. I just think she is fantastic as a manager, and not as fantastic as an in-ring competitor. So, yeah, she thrived in this role and was really good.
I think she was really good at getting the crowd reaction, basically teasing the DQ and stuff like that. I think she, as you said, I agree with you. I think she makes an excellent valet and a manager, maybe better in ring. Maybe that will come in time. But it's just kind of rare to see her as a bad person here again, which is, if you look at it now, she's very much the baby face of the women's division on Raw at the moment, which just
or they're trying to make her the baby face.
They're trying to do a Daniel Bryan story, except for she's probably not as good as Daniel Bryan, unfortunately. Really.
There
you go. Oh, well, at least she gets a sort of revenge on Nia Jax recently, which I don't know if that says much, but no, definitely. So let's get to this main event. This is probably a match we're going to see at Fastlane this month in 2021. It's Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. The number one contendership is at stake. Roman Reigns obviously winning the Royal Rumble, agreed to put his number one contendership here. The winner will face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. For me, this was an absolutely phenomenal match. This match alone saved the pay-per-view. And I thought it was really, really good. I think this is what I'd love to see. The fact we're going to have this match potentially again this month in 2021, I'm excited about. What were your thoughts on the match?
Let me ask you a question before we get into this. What did you think of Roman Reigns at this time? Not obviously who he's developed to be today, but at this time, what were your thoughts on him?
I remember sort of being in a bar watching WrestleMania this year, that WrestleMania. And I remember when Roman Reigns Lesnar, everyone in the bar was like saying, Roman Reigns went, oh, Roman. Everyone was slagging Roman Reigns off. The minute Seth Rollins got the Money in the Bank briefcase and cashed in, even though he's a heel, people were popping like it was a goal in the FA Cup final. You know what I mean? People were really, really excited. That shows how much hatred there was for Roman Reigns then. And this guy's not even a heel. He's a babyface here. You know what I mean? I don't know if it was the same for you personally. I wasn't a fan of Roman Reigns. I always admired his ability. But he was Hulk Hogan. He was the one that would always win. Everything would go right no matter what. And it just gets to the point where he didn't really kind of seem to sell anything, really. That's kind of the thing. Royal Rumble, it was a fairy tale story. And it's just one of them things. I remember I wasn't particularly a big fan of him at that time. He was too much of a sort of Hulk Hogan type wrestler for me. What about you?
I was a fan. I didn't understand why people didn't like this guy. And at the same time, maybe that's, like I said, I was in and out watching. Maybe I wasn't watching all the push and all the, the kind of elevation that they were giving to Roman Reigns, but I just couldn't understand. I said, this guy is so good. And I used to look back on Wikipedia and be like, when did this guy start wrestling? Like, he is so good. Like, what don't people get about him? And yes, there was, he's The Rock's cousin, this, that, and the other. He's getting pushed early because of that reason. But I just used to think, he is a star. Look at him. Like, the minute they, finally maybe rip him, and that was my only criticism. They've kind of taken everyone else out of the Shield, repackaged them, and not repackaged Roman. I said, the minute they repackage this guy out of his Shield gimmick, you lot are all gonna see that this guy is the real deal. And I think we're seeing a bit of that, nowadays. But I've always been behind Roman. Never understood why anyone was booing him. Never understood why no one wanted him to win at Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. Although Seth cashing in is quite possibly the best finish to WrestleMania I've ever seen. But yeah, in this particular match, like you said, I think he showed. Daniel Bryan must have obviously been the one that kind of led and put together this match, but Roman Reigns showed that he can hang. He is as good as, you know, these other kind of main event caliber talents. And for me, he had to win. It would have been very dangerous if he won the Royal Rumble, which gives you that ticket to WrestleMania, and he lost here. Kind of what they're messing around with the Money in the Bank these days. You know, you win the Money in the Bank, that should be your opportunity to become world champion. And a lot of people are losing it. A lot of people are losing it to other wrestlers, and then they're winning the Money in the Bank. Like, they kind of messed that up a bit, and they were in danger of doing that with the Royal Rumble position. I don't ever think the Royal Rumble position should be on the line. We've seen situations in the past where it's like, if Daniel Bryan would have beaten Roman Reigns, he gets added to the match or something like that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But yeah, I think the right person won. There was a banger of a match. And yeah, like you said, if we get this match at Fastlane in a couple of weeks, I'm looking forward to it again.
Definitely. I think an interesting note from this, obviously, this was built sort of on the 2nd of February. Roman Reigns was sort of manipulated by the authority to give in this. So this is further playing up that Roman is the babyface and stuff like that. And I think this match was so good. The fact that Daniel Bryan played on Roman's injuries, and the fact that Daniel Bryan carried Roman to a decent match. Roman is a fantastic worker. That's not in kind of denial. I think the thing with it that really kind of impressed me was you really didn't know who was going to win here. It was really 50-50 for the whole way through. And by giving Roman this win, Roman's beat an ex-WWE champion, and this further catapults Roman. You're really thinking going into WrestleMania, Roman's coming out with a belt against Lesnar. And I think this was really, really good. I think I just wish the rest of the pay-per-view was at this standard, because for me, this was everything I'd want from a wrestling match. It was gripping. There was near falls. There was a lot of technical moves. And the fact that we're getting that sort of finish at the end, I think it was great. And after the match, you're obviously getting Daniel Bryan saying to Roman, go kick Lesnar's ass. I think, I just think it was a really good sort of feel-good story. What were your thoughts? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think that little bit of storytelling, like you just said at the end there, of Daniel Bryan kind of saluting Roman Reigns, giving him a handshake and told him kick Lesnar's ass at WrestleMania. It shows that, you know, okay, the better man won. You're gonna go on and do your thing, even though that never happened. And Bryan is actually the one that walked away with the title at WrestleMania. Yeah, I just think this was it must have been a very hard time in Roman's career when, you know, you're being pushed as the guy. The crowd aren't buying into you. No one wants you to be the guy. But you just have to keep going, because that's the position that, you know, they want to put you in. I think hopefully WWE have learned from the Roman experiment of, you know, 2015, 2016, that you can't force anybody on the crowd. It has to all be natural. I cross my fingers and I say hopefully they've learned, but, you know, they'll probably mess this up with someone else in the future. So we'll see. But yeah, top match to end the show.
Definitely. If we're going to go for sort of some final thoughts and the final score, I'm going to go to I'll go to you first next. If I could just ask, what was your match of the night, and what was your worst match of the night?
My match of the night was the main event. I think it was, like you said, it just high stakes. You know, you don't have a WWE Championship match on the card. You have something like this, a high stakes match. Rusev and Cena probably follows quite closely, to be honest. I think that was a really good match, a really good story told there. Rusev was on fire those times, like we said. My least favorite match of the night, probably the opener, probably the 6-man tag. It was just a bit clunky. Like, you know, you want to see a pay-per-view start with a big match, or like a high-flying match, something to get the crowd going. And apart from Dolph Ziggler, and that the crowd seemed to love, I just don't think that this match really, you know, showed off anyone's talents as best as it could. So yeah,
Definitely. I think if I was going for match of the night, I would say the main event, but to be a bit different, I'll say the Rusev John Cena match. I think it did what it needed to do. It was really, really technical. I think the fact that Rusev's on that push is really clever. It makes you want to see the match at WrestleMania, and it was something different. I think those two matches, the Rusev and John Cena, the Roman Reigns Daniel Bryan match, carried this show for me. I think they sort of dragged it from sort of being maybe a 4 out of 10 show up to about 6 out of 10. I think they really sort of
Yeah.
brought it through. In terms of the worst match of the show, it's kind of one of two for me. It's either going to be the 6-man, as you said. I think that just didn't work. There was a lot of issues with the ref, stuff like that, or the Nikki Bella and Paige match. I think both them two matches, I felt like I was wasting my time watching, really. Have you got anything else you want to add, or any final thoughts before we sort of end the podcast?
No, I think like in total, on the road to WrestleMania, you know, we're never gonna get like any big title changes or anything like that. We got the tag team title change, and that was about it. This show was just, you know, it is a B pay-per-view, as they call it. It's just to move things along. So yeah, it did what it needed to do going into WrestleMania. So yeah.
Definitely. I appreciate you obviously coming on. Just before we end the video, please tell everybody about your channel, what you got coming up, for everybody may want to watch.
So WrestleManiac UK, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all of those kind of places. I do daily reviews of all the shows, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, pay-per-view reviews, prediction shows. I've got a series on there which I've just shot some new videos for, where we debate top 5 lists and top 10 lists and all of that kind of stuff. So rather than some, you know, places you might go and you're just told these are the top 10 of all time, we're actually having a live debate there, so you can tune into that. And we also break down some wrestlers in my series called Break It Down. We talk about some of the key attributes that make a great wrestler and if they're Hall of Fame worthy. So lots of new stuff coming soon. But yeah, thanks Jonesy for having me on the channel. I've really enjoyed speaking through Fastlane today with you.
Not a problem. It's great to have you on here. I highly recommend everyone subs to Mex's channel. If you're wanting more retro content like this, please leave us a comment below. We'll do some other reviews, I'm sure. And yeah, no, thank you for watching. Please give me a sub if you can. Give Mex a sub. And if you've enjoyed it, leave us a comment below with your thoughts of Fastlane 2015. But this has been Jonesy Chats Wrestling, joined by WrestleManiac UK. And enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for watching.